I'm ready when you are.
All right. So, hey, everybody.
Yes.
Welcome to Over 50 starting over May 6th, Friday. I'm Barry Edwards.
And I'm Merle Garrison.
And it's still 2022. Hey.
2022, May 6th, boy. And we just passed the May 4th thing, being Kent Staters and everything.
I always think about that. I thought about when I said May 6th, I totally missed Cinco de Mayo.
How did you miss that?
I love
didn't go to Taco Bell.
I think I got allergies. My eyes look red.
Oh, they do. You see that?
I love Mexican. It's my favorite thing in the world. And no, I never thought about it.
That's too bad.
Mm-hmm.
No avocados, homemade guacamole, none of that stuff. I didn't think about it either.
I think I told you I made homemade guacamole for my first meal coming off of that fast.
That had to be very tasty.
Best guacamole I ever had. I just put really ripe avocados and a bunch of finely diced onions in there and some garlic salt. That's all.
Well, just continuing to follow this whole thing since you started the fasting thing, and you have a goal coming up here for June. How you doing with that whole thing, Barry?
Really good. I simply kind of coasted here for the last week. And when I say coasted, I ate very well. What am I saying? I mean, very well in the fact that I still am eating clean and watching what I'm eating. I'm maintaining my weight at around 204. I hit a low of 200.7 coming off my fast. Okay. So that's pretty good. But now I'm going back into intermittent fasting now. I was kind of sort of doing it, but then I kind of sort of stopped. Mm-hmm. For this last week. Now I got 3 weeks to go on my self-imposed cleanse or whatever you call it. And I'm going back into an intermittent fasting and eating really clean. And I want to get under 200 pounds. And those are tough pounds to lose for me at my size. But that's where I want to be. And
yeah, that's the hardest part is that when you get to you've burned all the outer shell that you're trying to burn, and now you're just trying to get it perfected here. That is the hardest part.
Well, Merle,
one of the hardest parts.
I haven't been at 204 in at least 15 years, if not more. I haven't been under 200 in 20 years. Wow. So, and that was a good weight for me back then and all that, but I don't carry it the same. I need to slim down because I don't carry muscle mass the way I used to. And that's all, it's fine. It is what it is, but I know where I want to be and feel great. And I feel great right now, but I'm on a roll and I want to keep going with it. So that's why I'm there. Now, I also want to mention, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm not going to belabor this because we've been talking about dieting a little too much lately, but I ran across once again, Dr. Eric Berg on YouTube. He's a dietitian type of doctor, whatever technical term is, I don't know, but he's got fantastic videos out there on nutrition and dieting. And he's got some fantastic videos on intermittent fasting. I bring that up because about 2 weeks ago when we were talking about it, I shared an article that was kind of debunking intermittent fasting. And it was doing so in something of a lame way. It was kind of like the headline was, oh, it doesn't work. But then when you read the article, it was saying, well, compared to other diets, you lose the same amount, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's a diet. It's compared to other diets. It's not compared to not dieting.
Well, that's interesting how, and I read an article about something else that wasn't, it was the same thing. It was comparing it to something else, not in general. That it's a sort of an interesting strategy.
But, I think it's a little clickbaity is what it is.
Yeah.
And so I want to stress that I lost 6 pounds in 2 weeks off intermittent fasting, eating well and eating right. And I want to say right now, there's something that I hate that marketers always prey on with Americans. And that is when you think of intermittent fasting, I'll guarantee you think, oh, that's the diet where you eat anything you want for 8 hours a day.
Right.
That's what I want people to get away from. That's preying on the compulsiveness of Americans. That's a horrible way to even think about it. You want to eat clean. You want to eat well. You want to eat balanced. And then it's a very good thing. Now, I'm going to share the link for Eric Berg. He even goes as far as to show 3 forms of intermittent fasting, with the middle one being what I was doing, the 8 hours a day of eating from approximately 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then not eating anything in between. Merle, something that I got sidetracked on for a few days was I would open up the refrigerator in the morning and, oh, there's my grapes, and eat a few grapes in the morning, thinking I'm not eating anything. That's preventing you. It's giving your body something.
Right. So you're
don't
not
do
actually
that.
doing a fast. Yeah.
Right.
Because then your body focuses on that. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So there's things like that.
Right.
I'm going to leave a link for that video. And so get the real thing from the real doctor. And, so he goes as far as to say, and if you want to work up to, say, 3 weeks later after going through this level of intermittent fasting, you can go to this super fat burner one where you have a 4-hour window and 2 meals in that 4-hour window. I'm not going to ever do that, I don't think. I mean, I'll do that. I won't do that three-day fast again. I'm sure I will, mostly because of the clarity it gave me. Really. But I do like the idea of the 8-hour intermittent fasting when I want to get down to my ideal weight. And I'll probably slowly segue out of that into just moderation. I hope that's my goal.
Got it. Sounds good. Oh, your mic is coming through pretty loud.
Oh, really?
Louder than normal. I don't know if your mic is up higher than normal or what, but yeah.
Testing. How was that? Did that do anything?
Nope.
Let me try some. I don't want to blow out anyone's ears. Let me see something here. Now, another thing that I did want to talk about during this upfront O5O part, where we generally talk about self-improvement, which is, lost my dog, which is career and in life. And
yeah,
I'm looking for my audio settings. Okay. Is that any different?
No, just keep going. I think you're okay.
Okay. And what I wanted to stress there is I have really enjoyed Charlie. I gave Charlie some new toys this morning. He's going crazy on it.
It's always so fun when you give your dog new toys.
Freaks. He's got I give him these toys that look like dead squirrels with a squeaky in them. He loves those things, but then he tears them apart so quickly. It's like, damn, dog.
Yeah, right. There goes $20. Yeah.
So, hey, Merle, I wanted to say, and I've mentioned it before, it's well worth repeating, that I have 3 different forms on my resume: content marketing, graphic designer, and creative director. Very just slightly tweaked for each one of those very overlapping types of things in my field. I have them on Indeed, Glassdoor, and LinkedIn, and I get a zillion emails on these every day, and to the point of being annoying, but at the same time, boy, I do scan through them and I see things I get so excited about. Jobs and I apply for a ton, because once you got those emails, those resumes tweaked right and uploaded to those different sites, tweaking a cover letter is really quick for each one. You can apply very, very quickly to each one. Now, there's a couple schools of thought on that. The more that you really love a certain position, like the more time you may want to spend with it, as in going on LinkedIn and seeing if you have any connections that work there that can give you a referral, really work that angle. But I'm in a phase where I just have fun with it, and I'm just applying I bet you I applied for 20 last week, and I didn't take a lot of time doing it. And I'm now quoting a vitamin catalog that's from Wadsworth, Ohio, which I'm really excited about, from one of those. So I'm doing largely, like I'm getting excited about at this point, largely contract work.
Right.
But I'm always open to taking a full-time position if I can do it remotely. Or I had this conversation with the vitamin company already, is right. I would go full-time if it's an hour away. If you had a weekly meeting, say on Friday, I would compromise at that, and it's good for building relationships and getting on the same page, fine. But other than that, no more than that. That would be my limit. So there's those kinds of things. And I'm just bringing this up because O5O, over 50 starting over, is about doing what you really want and you're passionate about. And there's tons out there right now. There is absolutely tons available, millions of jobs available right now. So look, get your you know what the biggest stumbling block for so many people is? Getting their resume updated, getting it together.
Right.
Take 10 minutes and do it quickly as an outline. It'll get it in the back of your head. Then when you're out washing the car or whatever, you'll be like, you know what? I need to add this, this, and this to that. And then you'll start getting it together. But it's like an artist facing a blank canvas. That's the most terrifying thing in the world.
It is.
So take 10 minutes and put an outline together in no more than 10. Just buckle down and do it. And because there's just too much great stuff out there. You can live the life of your dreams right now and do your best work right now. It's available.
Well, and Barry, you know, if you need help with that, there are resources out there that can help you with putting your resume together. You don't have to be the Lone Ranger out there. There's a lot of online help. But you know what I did was I just went on Yelp and I looked at resume writers, and a lot of stuff came up, and I went through a lot of different reviews on who does what and what they specialize in. I do your research, because there's some out there that aren't going to help you at all. Just make sure you've got good write-ups on this, and you'll be okay. But I found that this was a great big help, and I think it's something, and it's something that it's not one and done, right? You've got to constantly be looking at this and crafting it. You don't want to be caught where a great opportunity comes up and somebody says, "Hey, send me your resume," and you're like, "What do I do?"
Right.
That's a bad position to be in.
That's true. I also mentioned something we've talked about before. Different industries require different resumes, and we typically call that 6, 7, 8-page resume. We call that a CV. Remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
You came up. What's the CV
I knew you were going to ask me what that was. Of course, I don't know what it is.
Of course. Well, you can Google it, because we never ever use that. Because even when you said what it was, I was like, I never heard that before. We just
I think it was like a Latin word or something like that.
It is. But anyways, so know what's appropriate to your industry. I went over my resume with someone that is very accomplished in my field and in the corporate gig, an expert. She goes through a lot of these and she's like, yes, this 1-page resume is exactly how you want it. And with mine, she's like, it's really good the way you have it, but put it in ascending order or descending. What I did is I went chronologically. Well, I started out my career right here, and then I did this. Then I was teaching, and now I do this. She's like, no, flip that. This is what you do today. Here's your background, and bullet that stuff out. That's what she said.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a CV as much as I have a 1-page resume, which is appropriate to my industry.
So I looked up CV. It's curriculum vitae, VITA.
Vitae. That's it. Because a lot of people in Europe, they'll just call it a vitae.
Oh, okay.
I remember that.
It is a Latin word. It means course of life.
There you go. Yeah.
Course of life.
So just do a little Googling, let your fingers do your walking virtually, and figure out what's most appropriate for your industry. It's very easy. It's very easy to figure it out. Then just do it.
Yeah. Just do it. Do it. That's
be
that's the big
prepared.
thing. I think that's the biggest obstacle there is just getting started.
That's why I said, like, take 10 minutes to get you started.
Just make it happen.
Get your mind going. You'll relax. Add to it. Yeah, you'll add to it later when you're like, oh, I did this amazing thing. Because a CV is like talking about your accomplishments. Like, try to put a percentage on. I increased sales by this percentage during this time. That's where the CV is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's enough of that. Just wanted to give a little kick in the butt and inspiration along those lines, because there's so much opportunity out there right now.
There really is. I mean, and I just saw right before I came in, the new jobs report came out for the month of April, and it was good. For the first time in a really long time, they added something almost 500,000 jobs. And the unemployment rate fell as well. So, hey, it looks like things are ramping up as far as jobs, because there's other indicators out there that aren't so good. But there is at least one bright, shiny spot right there going along.
That's
with what good,
saying, because Barry, I got to say something I've always been, I mean, for the last 2 years, I just don't understand is why people are not going back to work.
How do they not go back to work? Like, what are you doing?
I don't understand it. I've never heard it explained. I mean, I follow the news pretty well. I've never heard that explained to me.
Not sure how they do that, but maybe we'll have to keep researching that. Hey, I came up with an article of this past week that I saw. You may have seen this, and it caught my eye, and I just kind of think it's interesting, and it has to do with millennials. And the new shopping habits only millennials could think of. And, here being over 50, starting over, we wonder what the heck, what are these people thinking of? I remember being their age and thinking, that I'm cool. I don't know why these older people aren't cool, but I know I am. And as I get older, I'm going to continue to be cool. And that's just all there is to it. But these millennials are ruining it for us because they don't think that we're cool. And so anyway, I just saw there was a couple of things here that I thought that were interesting. Like, for instance, millennials are opting out of wine with corks. I don't know if you heard that before or not, but
many years ago, I heard back when I listened to NPR. So that was many years ago. They had a special on, though, that with wine experts on there, that some of the best wines actually are screw top. And it's just the whole cork thing is only because of what people have in their heads.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with that. The millennials like things easy. The cork thing, it just, doesn't really fit their style. And typically these wines with the corks, as you're saying, Barry, they're more expensive, but the quality, it doesn't mean the quality is a high quality. So, and here's the thing too, is that these millennials do most of their shopping online. So they do a lot of price comparisons. They're very, very susceptible to pricing. Here's another one. Lottery ticket sales are declining. I kind of feel like that's a good thing, by the way.
I certainly do.
Here's the reason. Millennials aren't buying lottery tickets because they're so adept online. They've seen all the research on how impossible it is for you to win this and what a Ponzi scheme it actually is. They just avoid it.
Well, I mean, all the income on there primarily comes from poor people, which is a horrible thing to say.
It really is.
These states passed these laws by claiming that the proceeds are going to go to education. Rarely does. And all they're doing is fleecing poor people who shouldn't be affording that. I mean, I see it all the time in local stores.
I know. And you see it. They're all lined up to get their lottery ticket and everything. And then it's a terrible thing. What's going on with the whole lottery? Here's the thing I don't like. Just adding another thing is that I remember my ex-wife Tracy, her grandmother won $30,000 on a lottery ticket one time. She probably played $100,000 and $200,000 worth of, and she got that $30,000. But then when she got her payoff, she got something like $12,000. So
what? Because of taxes or what?
Because of taxes.
Jesus.
So this is the thing. The state lottery puts it together, but then when you win, they win most of the money.
Oh, wow. What a racket. You know, I probably said this before, Merle. It's worth repeating. Just like the lotto, people going to Vegas and what have you, they'll always be like, oh, I won $30,000,
Right.
and never tell you that especially over their lifetime, they've lost like 150,000. Everyone does that.
The house always wins on this. Of
course. I mean, you see Vegas, it's just nothing but all those plush buildings, it's extravagance that wasn't built by everybody coming in there and fleecing.
No. There wasn't a charity job there. Hey, let's just build this nice place for people to come and win a bunch of money. Here's another one. Millennials expect companies to make charitable donations. That's what's screwing up the world here, I think. I love that they make charitable donations.
They're companies that they work for?
No, they expect companies to make charitable donations. So not only companies they work for, but companies they purchase from. And as a result, what we're seeing is that companies are actually capitulating to this. They're actually doing the donations. I think that's good, but they're advertising the donations like that's the thing that makes their company great, and that's why you should come and work for us because we make this kind of donation. We're seeing that with Microsoft, Google, Starbucks. They're always doing that and making a huge advertising.
Right.
And it's a gimmick.
It is a gimmick because it's a huge tax write-off for them on many different levels, and then it's like free marketing is what it is.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
There's that. I want to just caution one thing, that there's this whole thing that we've been doing for many years. Oh, those millennials. Well, those millennials are at least 40 years to 30
they're
years
in their
old
mid-30s now.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I think they're up to 40. We could do, I'll Google it. You go ahead with the next thing.
Yeah, we're talking 5 years here. I'll give it to you. Yeah, they're 40.
You already Googled that? Is that what you said?
No, I'm saying I'll give that one to you. It's negligible. Here's one. Napkin sales are rapidly declining. They're not buying napkins because they figure it's napkins. Why would we do that? They're going to fill up the landfill. I got a nice sleeve right here I could use, or this towel.
Well,
here.
That's what it's saying is you're just using, and so I think what it's saying, instead of paper napkins, that people are using washable napkins. I think that's a great thing. I've always had a problem when I go to the grocery store buying things that I'm buying for the reason of throwing away. Toilet paper, trash bags, things like that. You're just buying them to throw them away. That's like, that's a tough one.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, we talked about this before. Razor companies are freaking out because of the millennial, the beards. They're not buying razors, and here's what's happened. We talked about that Gillette commercial, I think it was, where it was pretty much man bashing. I think you brought that up.
Oh yeah. It was terrible.
And it's saying that this is what's happened with this fashion trend is actually causing these razor companies to turn to women for their revenue because they're not getting it from the men. So that's why you're seeing commercials like that.
Last sentence that you said, I'm sorry, say that again.
I said that's why you're seeing commercials like that, because the revenue is coming. It's not coming from these young men anymore because they don't shave.
Well, that's very true. I don't shave. I use a beard trimmer like many people do. It's a huge difference between, say, the boomer. I mean, Generation X, our generation's like the lost generation. Nobody talks about us. We just kind of skip over them. You talk about the boomers or the millennials, and the boomers are a totally different market from millennials, day and night. And by the way, millennials were born 81 through 96, 23 to 38 years old, but I think that's 2021. So I think it would be 24 to 39 years old right now.
Okay. So
they're older.
Yeah, they are. And then what is it? Gen Z.
Gen Z's getting up there. I mean, I always thought of Gen Z, like, who are they going to be? They're in like high school now. Well, no, they're entering the workforce now. They're up to 24 years old now.
Jeez, amazing. Here's one. Younger people don't use doorbells anymore. They don't use doorbells. Here's why.
I never heard that. Never thought of it.
Well, here's a couple of reasons. One is that the millennial age doesn't make the same kind of money as the previous generations do. So they typically not only live, they've tended to congregate in the urban areas where rent is higher and space is smaller. So, it's not like they're going down in the basement where they can't hear the doorbell. They could hear somebody or knocking on the door. Secondly, everybody's got smartphones now. So rather than ring the doorbell, you text, "Hey, I'm here." That's what they're doing.
So they don't even knock.
They're not even knocking. They're letting them know, hey, they know they can get that person directly. But back in our day, you call a number, it goes to the house. Who knows who's going to answer if anybody's there? You could call directly to somebody now. It makes a lot of sense, actually. Why would you use it? Does.
But I got to tell you that I miss texts for an hour or two all the time. There's something about my phone. As soon as I find the setting, it's like, oh, that's why it hasn't been ringing. And I turn it back on, or, whatever. Within a week, it's not ringing again, and I don't think about it.
That's just hilarious, Barry. I think that's an over 50 problem right there, not the phone.
Maybe
problem.
It is, but why does it keep shutting off the ringer?
Isn't that crazy?
And it's the volume one. Like, it's not the side button. It's like you got to go in and really shut that thing off. And
here's the difference, Barry, is that you don't live looking at your phone or holding onto your phone. This generation does do that. So there's no way they're going to miss a text message coming in.
Well, I always have it in my pocket. If the damn thing would ring or beep or something, I would catch it. I'm just saying, it always shuts off, and I just don't care enough to manually go in there and try to turn it back on.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's so many of these, by the way, Barry. This generation is definitely changing the world, the way that they think. One of them is that this is right up your alley. Millennials are opting for rental apps rather than hotels. They don't go into the hotels anymore. Hotels are realizing this. They're more catering to the business world, has been not so much the vacationers. And have you noticed that that age typically likes to come to your place as an Airbnb?
I definitely span all generations, for sure. And I do try to watch out for people that are too young. It's too irresponsible. I just saw another quote. What age, in the same article, what age do millennials start? It's all over the place. I don't know why, because I haven't sat down and read this verbatim, but it says Gen Y, or millennials. I've never heard them called Gen Y.
Neither before. Have I. I was going to ask you what that was. That's
born between 81 and 94 to 96. I don't know why it's so vague. They're currently between 25 and 40 years old.
Right.
And there's 72 million of them.
72 million.
That's like a third of the population.
Yeah, that's pretty serious. And Brandon and Hallie they're in that age group, and sometimes we talk about it, and they too are like perplexed by their own generation. Like, what are we doing here? I think that's kind of funny.
They're getting older. I think what I'm trying to say is I think we got to let go of some of the cliches of a while. We used to always be like, when they were entering the workplace, man, all the reports were how entitled they were. They expected to get $100,000 a year management job coming out of college and would throw a tantrum if not. But they're older now, and they've been through a lot. So I think we got to kind of, and another thing that I've always disliked is how we just blame them for being them without taking any of the blame for raising them and creating them.
That's exactly where it's whatever the faults are. It's the parents' fault. That's really what it is. It comes down to that. I totally agree with you on that. Hey, I got just a couple more, and we can move on here.
This is very interesting. Take your time.
I think so too. So going to supermarkets and buying groceries. This article is saying that they don't do that. They do their online thing. They don't go to the stores. When you go to the stores, you're not going to see that many millennials. So I went to the store yesterday, And I was like, well, okay, are they? I saw some millennials there, but
yeah, I'm not really following that one. As maybe in more urban settings.
Maybe. Here's one that I found kind of interesting. Millennials prefer soap bottles to soap bars. The big reason, let's say, there's no scientific basis why soap bars would be less clean than regular soap bottles. Here's the thing: they think that bar soap has germs on it.
Well, I understand the thought behind it. Somebody else touched it, right.
But
well, it is
I think even they might have touched it.
Yeah, but it's a big bar.
It's just sitting there, and it's all wet, and now stuff might be getting on it.
I understand it, but I don't have a preference.
I don't have that either. But I gotta say that I do like the soaps that come in bottles, and I like sometimes. And Anne-Marie usually does all the shopping for this, and sometimes there'll be like shower soap and bar soap.
Right.
And I'll usually go to the shower soap for the bottle, like the dispenser. I'll usually use that up, and then here's the bar. I'll use the bar after that.
Now that you're making me think about it.
Convenient.
Yeah, and you're right. It's just kind of the way, because I don't really have much of a preference, but I guess washing my hands, I like the bottled soap because I guess a bar sitting there would be messy. That's
I kind of feel that I feel the same way.
And I'm only just now thinking about it. But showering, I like my bar soap, and I keep it though in a little plastic jar, kind of. No cap on it or anything, so it's not messy. But I just know that it's a disinfectant. And in a shower, that's what I want. I want to be really clean.
Yeah.
That's why I'm showering. You know?
Yeah. Okay, millennials really don't like fast food. And
really,
so
I'm glad to hear that.
Kind of surprising to me.
I would like to see that stuff go away.
And these fast food places are scrambling as a result, and the big reason is because of the health consciousness of this generation. Here's the thing: it is the most stagnant generation that we have, meaning that they like to be on their computers and they don't like to get outside and everything. But they have moved to other ways of staying in shape, like yoga and indoor fitness things where they don't actually have to leave the house. And these fast food places are starting to capitulate by adding these. They don't like meat either, by the way, especially red meat. So they're adding things like the
Impossible
Burger, and
I think that died.
Other things. Is that right?
It seems like it had a 2-year hype period, and it seems like it kind of died. Because I immediately heard that it's not very good for you, because it may not be meat. It may taste something like it. I've never had one, but it's all a bunch of chemicals. Who wants to eat that crap if you're trying to be healthy?
I'm not really sure. Here's the other thing: is they're not buying milk. They're doing the same thing because of the same reasons you're not buying milk, but they're very conscious of these kinds of things, and so
there's a lot of good to come out of that.
You're seeing. Go ahead.
I just want to say the fast food thing, if that can shape that industry, make that the demand for fast food to change and get healthier. See, here's the thing. A problem that we have with our poorer people in this country is that it's just a lot cheaper to take your kid to get a $1 hamburger.
That's the truth.
Than it is, and it's all crap and sugar. You're getting, and the food industry knows this. They want them addicted to the high fructose corn syrup and all of that crap early, so that they will be on it the rest of their lives.
I got to say, though, Barry, if you go to any kind of fast food place now, the prices have gone up so high that it's just not economical anymore, to be honest with you. It's
but don't they all have their value menu where it's like I know it's like $1.50.
Well, this is true. But I had a big craving for a cheeseburger from Burger King, and I had to have it. I told Anne-Marie I'm going to go get one of these, and she was like, "Oh, I want one too." And so we got 2 of those and 2 medium fries, and it was $21.
How is that possible?
The price of beef has gone through the roof, Barry.
I could guarantee you I could go to Burger King down the street, and if that wouldn't be more than $6.
You'd be surprised. You haven't been there for a while, have
you? Get off the damn couch. God.
So a Whopper is like $8 now.
You gotta be kidding.
No,
me.
I'm not kidding at all. It's unbelievable. And not only is it fast food that they're leaving, it's also casual dining restaurants. They don't like the casual dining.
Is that a COVID thing, you think?
This is the TGI Fridays, the Applebee's. Let me just read through some of this.
Oh, who goes to TG? You know who goes to TGI Fridays?
Fridays.
Boomers. Yeah,
I like hanging out with boomers. They
prefer and steakhouses, chains, and all that. When boomers die off, those are all gone.
Well, no, see, now that's not true. Here's, according to this article, they're saying they prefer to eat a pre-cooked meal because it's easier, or order something off of Uber. Or if they're going to go out to eat, they want fancy restaurant. They want it to be expensive. They want it to be an experience. So that they are still doing that, but it's sort of that TGI Fridays is sort of like, it's not fast food, but it's not,
it's like garbage. It's fast food, basically. It's garbage.
It's fast. What do they call it? Fast something.
It's right off the Cisco truck. You throw it into a deep fryer and it goes right on your plate. It's all preservatives.
They don't like it. That's the thing.
Garbage.
They don't like it. Here's one. They hate beef, and it's because of the animal cruelty and things like that. They're not into sports anymore. That's something that's interesting. I remember my kids while they were growing up and everything. I love football. I've gotten away from it, but I remember my dad. He was a huge football fan, and I'd see him in the living room watching football. And I thought my dad was so cool. I'm going to hang out with him, and then that's how I got into football. So I figured I'm going to get my kids to get into it with me. I'm just going to turn it on in the living room, and they're going to come and we're going to do this. They never would come. They would never come in there.
I could totally see it dying. Well, baseball already has, because it's such a slow sport. I used to like baseball back when the Indians were good in the 90s.
Me too, right? It was really exciting.
But I can't sit through that anymore. I just can't. The world's changed. It's so freaking boring. Basketball, can't stand it. I used to like it when Jordan was playing. I can't stand it.
I loved it. Those were the glory days of sports.
But we also we were different then. We were.
Everything was different then.
Everything was different. Right.
Anyway,
I could totally see in a violent sport like football, I could totally see that dying out.
I can't even believe that it's still going on today, to be honest, with the way that the world has changed. I mean, and when you take a look at some of the terrible injuries, how they've linked the concussions to ALS and things like that.
That's true.
I know that there's going to be a day, it's probably coming soon, where it's going to be just like that episode on the Jetsons, where George Jetson, he's got to watch football on TV, and then they show what he's watching, and it's these robots, and they're running into each other at like 90 miles an hour.
Well, I've said before, and I thought 20 years ago that by now all sports would be virtual. And you would just, you would have a full body suit on. Now it could still be physical. You get one hell of a workout running through a virtual maze and whatever you want. It could be whatever you want. And I could totally see having a very interesting Olympics based on whatever is the new virtual game that has, come into everyone's fancy.
I could totally see that too. I mean, especially with everything that is going on with virtual technology right now. I think you're making a good point. I think it's a shame at the same time that it's because it's such a wonderful thing in my past. It's nostalgic, but everything's changed. It has changed. You are right. Where do you want to go from here?
Oh, I don't know. I was really enjoying that.
Really? I actually have a whole lot more. Yeah.
Let's go with more. It's interesting.
Okay. Nobody buys cable anymore. We've talked about this one before. I mean, when you really look at it, I've come to see the light here myself. We've talked about this before, but it took a couple of millennials to enlighten me on this, my kids, Brandon and Hallie, and thank God they did. I'm so enjoying it. I'm saving a ton of money. And just
instead of paying for all those worthless channels of reality TV, it's rotting your brain.
There's a mindset change as well, too, because, you know, we grew up with the 3 networks, right? It's like, oh, something's coming on at XYZ time, and I got to be home at this time. And that's it. And so we've just been in this very, I don't know, this linear kind of thing where it's like, we got to wait for this to happen. And now it's like, you decide what you want. You got to decide what you want here.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And another good thing to come off of cutting the cord is getting off mainstream media. And that again is just older people are barely keeping that alive. So the sooner you get off, the better that's going to be. And I strongly encourage people. I had a guy contact me a couple months ago that he was trying to come at me in the guise of, oh, you're a marketing dude. Do you, I sell, basically he sells cable packages. And do you have any ideas for me on, he was trying to get on the show. He's like,
right.
Because he's like, do you have any ideas of how I could do some free marketing? I'm like, market in Florida. That's what you got to do. That's where I put all my money. But he was clearly wanting me to say, oh, yeah, come on my show. Dude, I'm trying so hard to get people off cable. There's no way I would bring this guy on here. Cable's awful.
Funny. It really is. And what a tremendous ripoff it is, too.
Yes.
It's terrible. They have you. They just have you right there. And the value you can get so much more value for so much less. It's really...
I'll mention to people that are like, oh my God, but I need my cable channels. I need my CNN or whatever. Cause I had, if you recall, about a year ago, I had this really old couple, but they were like 70-ish-year-old couple from California. They were really far left and his wife was very demanding. And it was more silverware. I had to buy them more silverware, then coffee cups and then cable. It was like they had like 2 weeks to go on their rent or something. And I just went on and Googled some stuff because they wanted their CNN, I'm sure. And that was the one Merle
for CNN.
Right for sure. That was the one Merle that I met the guy the one day and then the dog came out. And then finally the lady, the wife came out and she looked all traumatized and goes, you guys don't recycle here. Do you remember that? She was
of course, I'll never forget that. Yes.
It was horrifying. She was a horrible person. And because she just wanted to make a point of how much more virtuous she was than me and my entire community. And anyways, so now she wanted to demand cable. Like I'm going to hook up $150 a month, for her. And anyways, the point to this is I found Sling TV. I'm like, here, $35. You could get your cable channels right there. No contract. Wow. There you have it. That's cool. Where I left it. I'm sure they didn't do it. They just wanted to see how many hoops they can get me to jump through for.
That's a thing, right?
Yeah. I'm so glad they're gone.
Oh my gosh.
Here's I would never have them back.
Millennials hate mailboxes. So mailboxes could be a thing of the past. We could see mailboxes in a museum, but there's three reasons. First, they actually have to go outside. It's a hassle. Number two is that it takes time to arrive, and millennials don't like it when things take time. And thirdly, millennials often move. They move a lot. And so keeping up with all of that, it's a pain. Why have a mailbox? I got to say, it would be a good thing not to have the U.S. Postal Service any longer. Just for
that's a good point. Good point. And that's really going that way. And I got to say, everything that you're reading, I've always known this. I lean more into the millennial generation myself because I've always been on the forefront of tech. And so I just take advantage of it and I run that way. And with mail as well, I get so little mail that is actually worthy of anything. I don't send any. I do all my bills electronically, all of them. And that was really a beautiful thing when it made that shift. It used to take me so long to do my bills way back when I had to do them by hand and balance a checkbook and stuff. crazy. Now I do everything on QuickBooks and electronically. It's so much more efficient. And stamps. I don't need, like, how much are stamps anymore?
Jeez, I mean, they go up every couple months, it seems like. And I was thinking that this whole forever stamp thing is, you buy a forever stamp and then the price goes up a couple months later, but the forever stamp still holds its value. And I wonder if people invested in that, because
what are the numbers? What are the numbers behind that gimmick? Because
that's a good question.
If people bought $100 worth of those 5-10 years ago, I would still have. Believe me, if I bought $100 worth of those 5 to 10 years ago, I would still have most.
You'd have 99 of them.
So how are they making money on? I mean, it's a numbers game. They are. Right, it is working for them. Whatever. I would like. Yeah, the post office is run so shoddily that they deserve to go out of business. So.
I agree. And hey, I know there's some real nice people that work for the post office and everything, but it is like the most inefficient organization on earth.
It is.
And they're always, well, we need more money. And then they get more money, and then it gets worse. So
yeah, right. It's like anything. Now, is it actually government run?
It is. Yes.
Because it's always seemed like it's had some kind of a sketchy in the middle kind of a thing.
There is something going on there, but basically it's a government run facility, and therein lies the problem.
Yeah, that answers that question. What else you got there?
Exactly. Millennials aren't into clothing brands anymore. The brands like Prada, Vogue, Chanel, Boss, and Gucci. They don't care about that. The millennials are all about value and price. And so and not only that, they also are very interested in the people that are doing the promoting themselves. Like if Kylie Jenner promotes it, she made it, we're gonna buy that, right? Exactly. So so that's what they're doing there. Home ownership practically gone.
Yeah,
this is a bad thing. The millennials, they're not saving. They're not in that save.
They're not.
Mode.
They're screwed. I gotta really give this up to them. They are screwed today, and they have been for years. They've been promised a bill of goods with how great college is for you. So as the quality of college has gone down, the prices have gone up, and they've been saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt while having to get a job as a barista at Starbucks. And then the housing market did the same damn thing. And
that's exactly what this article is saying.
Oh.
Exactly.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steal your
thunder. No.
But it pisses me off.
It's great. And you're seeing. So it's a weird thing that's going on with this, with the Biden administration saying they're going to forgive the debt. And is that fair?
That's fraught with all kinds of problems.
Exactly. But we know one thing: it's a problem, and it's causing a big shift in the American dream. And when we're seeing it in the millennials, they're not buying houses. They're moving into heavily urban areas where the price is too prohibitive to buy houses. They're moving into small apartments. That's what they're doing.
I want to say just about that whole Biden thing. He's trying to buy votes there for the midterm.
That's right.
I would be on board with a degree of relief to that under two conditions, is if it was coupled with some kind of a reform in what is going on with colleges to prevent this in the future, to just reform it. I don't know what shape that is. I'm not that smart in those fields. And the other is, where are the cuts coming from that's going to pay for that? I don't want any more just print up some money or take money that we don't have, any of that BS. It's time to start making sense.
Well, and here's the other thing too, and I was reading a little bit more on this, Barry, is that the value of college, the value of a college education, it used to be that, it was very specialized to go to college, but now everybody goes to college. So when you're up in front of, you're trying to get a job, the college education doesn't necessarily set you apart. And it's starting to be something that doesn't necessarily mean that you have an advantage going in because you have a college education. And then you start to take a look at what are they teaching at colleges, and more you're finding out that these colleges, unless it's highly specialized, don't actually prepare you for the real world.
Right.
A la these things that are happening on campus right now that are actually melting people's brains as opposed to building their brains. So I think what we're going to see here is, as I'm getting to the point of the college tuition, is I don't think that the rise in college tuition has been justified by any kind of value that's been added here. And I think
without question,
what we're seeing, and especially because of what we just saw with the pandemic, is I think less and less people are going to be sending their kids to colleges, and that's going to force colleges to change their whole strategy here. I'm hoping. No,
I think you're right. I think you're totally right on that.
Here's another
it's overdue.
It is overdue. It is overdue. But when I think about debt forgiveness, I mean, Barry, I paid my own way through college, and I think, well, okay, well, who's going to pay me back then? You know, I mean, that's not really fair.
But it was probably a tenth of what is going on today.
Yeah, well, it seemed pretty darn expensive to me at the time, but you're exactly right. They're not charging what they were back then.
I don't know about you, but I had like these 2% government loans or something. So mine's like most people, it stretched on forever. Yeah. And my parents helped me out with probably about 50% of it. But then I paid my own rent and the food and all that as well too.
That sure was a fun time though.
There's a lot of fun to be had in having to make ends meet. Oh, I only got $10 for the next 2 days. And so let's go out and have that $2 pizza, $1 pitcher of beer kind of stuff.
Oh God, that was so fun. Actually,
it was.
I'm thinking about you and I at the Loft.
Yes.
That was,
which looks exactly the same.
That was the first time you and I went out together. We went to the Loft
and we got drank those beers.
The pitcher of beer, the pizzas. That was so fun.
Yeah.
Millennials prefer to take online classes now, so we're seeing that more and more in colleges. So they're not going to the actual campus. They're staying at home. They're taking classes there, which is more efficient for them and cost effective. But at the same time, as we're talking about the good times that we had at college, the bonding, the lifelong friendship that you and I have here, a lot of people are missing out on that as a result. So there's give and take there, big time.
There is, but I can tell you this hands down, that if you put the same amount of time into learning online via video and podcast as you do into college, I'm not sure if I said that right, but if you take all those hours that you would traditionally go to college and spend at college, and you just learned online, and if you were curious so that you enjoyed it, not that you sat there and forced yourself, I'm saying because I'm curious and I love podcasts where I learn. I've learned so much so quickly in a few years because it's available. Like, instead of forcing yourself to sit through a class, it's where they're not teaching very much very well. I've said it before. When someone figures out that, Jordan Peterson or the like, or some great mathematician can put their full course online, and you can choose between taking theirs that is optimized out the wazoo to be the most effective in the country, or you could go to your local community college or Kent State or whatever, what would be the smart choice? And Kent State or whatever is 10 times the cost.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's where it's going, man.
Here's what I hate.
But you're right about the social part.
This is a big deal for millennials, is that they've had their whole social, like, outside of their home has been under attack, right? Like, when they were little kids, their mom was like, don't go outside, somebody's gonna kidnap you or something like that.
True.
I mean, and I mean, remember we used to go outside and, hey, when the street light comes on, come home. It just wasn't like that for our kids. So we were like, don't go outside. Here, kid, have some video, stay right here in front of the TV and be entertained by that. And that's your babysitter and all this kind of stuff. and this has damaged them, so they don't have long-term, like, deep friendships out there. And what we're seeing is the stats are showing loneliness for this generation is an all-time high, and we see suicide rates as well at a high level too. So I'm sad for them in that aspect, because, like, I'm going back to, like, our college days when we first met. One of the first things we did was we crashed a party, and like, that would be completely out of bounds for this generation to like put themselves in a situation where they're forced to kind of dance in front of people. That's just not something. And I think back on our experience, and oh my gosh, what a great time that was. And it's a thing that's helped me throughout my life with forming new relationships and business relationships and things like that. I think it's important for an all-around, well-rounded, healthy psychological existence.
Spoken like a true conservative, always wanting to go back to the good old days. But here's where it's going. This is a transitional period, and it's a tough one. And you're right. The depression that has come, it's real. It's horrible. Even though drug use is in large, I think a lot of this has to do with COVID, 2 years of COVID. Drug use is down, alcohol use is down, premarital sex when you're young, high schoolish. I think we're talking podcast I heard. All of that is down, and yet depression and suicide rates are up. And so you're speaking to it. But where this is going, very quickly, Web 3.0 will be coming out, which is going to be totally different reality
kind of thing.
Yes, totally different. Like, forget Facebook and Snapchat and TikTok and these kind of things that are kind of just on the surface. It's so surface oriented, immersive. Well, it's going to be very immersive. You're actually going to go into more of a virtual reality in Web 3.0, where you'll even be buying things in there. You'll own a couch and a chair and different things in your virtual world. And that's where your friendships, because social media right now is fake friendships, which is contributing to to the depression, the bullying, and all of the loneliness, all of that. Dude, we are just going to another stepping stone over to the matrix, and Web 3.0 is a big part of that. Your friendships are going to be with your friend's avatar.
Well, I mean, as you say, we're moving to the matrix, but if we remember, the matrix,
and there you go,
was not a good thing. In the movie, at least.
It depends. So, if you take whatever pill it is.
The thing is that
if you take the red pill or whichever pill it was, where you say, oh, I don't want to know that I'm in the matrix. I want to go back to my little utopia there, and then back to sleep you go.
Yeah. Well, that's
so it's a good thing in that regard.
It might be a good thing what you want. Those people if that's what they want. I hear what you're saying there. That's not what I want. I say a big boo.
I think you're in the matrix, buddy. More and more every day. I'm believing that.
I don't want to. I'm not. I've taken the red pill. I'm not in the matrix, but I can see the people that are in the matrix.
I think you are, and you don't know it.
No. Well, that's what someone in the matrix would say to you.
Yep.
Anyway, traditional beers and classic alcohol drinks, they don't want those. Classic American beer brands such as Budweiser, Coors, and Miller, once some of the most popular beverages in the United States, but nowadays you'll be hard pressed to find anybody drinking them outside of the rural areas of America. These brands suffered a severe decline in popularity as the younger generation grew up with a much weaker set of American values. I think that's kind of interesting.
It's interesting. Because 10 plus years ago, when millennials were very young, I remember that they were all about being ironic. And so they would go back and wear their flannel shirts with their big bushy beards, looking like lumberjacks, even though they'd never had any dirt under the fingernails whatsoever. And drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon. Pabst.
Everyone made a big
huge
recovery.
And it's a terrible beer.
It is a terrible beer.
But it was ironic.
It is ironic. Hey, do you know why it's called Pabst Blue Ribbon?
No, why?
I didn't know that either. I read this book called Devil in the White City. It's a true story about it revolves around the World Fair in Chicago. I think it's 1882. Pabst entered the beer contest in the World Fair, and they won the blue ribbon. Pabst
Well,
blue ribbon.
I figured that had to be it. Okay.
Oh,
all right. So
right
it was
there.
rather obvious. Okay. We are
almost
already
out of time. Can you believe that?
Well, that's fun. Do you have a bunch more of those?
I have a whole nother thing here. These products that I found that are just mind-blowing. Like, are you kidding me? You could do that with that. And so I got that. But yeah, this millennial thing goes on and on. They say like sweet wine is selling much better than dry wine.
Gross.
Almost all millennials own computers and phones. Millennials spend most of their money with companies that have similar values to them. Millennials don't iron their clothes. I mean, it's just, these are pretty cool. Millennials aren't reading newspapers anymore. They're not buying books.
Wait a minute. Let me stop you there for a minute. Who the hell's reading a newspaper anymore?
Yeah. Not millennials. I subscribe to a couple of papers.
A paper? Paper?
I don't get the paper. It's electronic.
Well, I think that isn't that what they're talking about? Because that's what I get angry that out here they still allow these newspaper outlets to throw their advertisements in your lawn, on your tree lawn, and you're supposed to go out there and pick it up once a week. And I call in there and I yell, I quit and just litter up the neighborhood with this because people stop picking it up. And if you're a dog walker, it's disgusting. And of course, sooner or later, they're going to, the city will get smart and say, hey, you have to stop doing that without a permit. You need to have permission to throw that piece of paper in their lawn. And so, but they're still old fashioned and saying,
I know what you're saying.
They're still holding on to some kind of a legacy at the time being. So anyways, I don't think anyone's reading a physical paper. I mean, I know there are boomers that do, but not many,
Yeah. I mean, it's. I used to be a paper boy too, and it's just
me
too. You know what? I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know you were a paper.
Oh
boy.
yeah.
What did you deliver? What did you deliver?
God, I think it was the News Herald.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was the Cleveland Press. Remember the old Cleveland Press? Oh,
sure. And then I was thinking there was the Painesville Telegraph. I might have delivered that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a heck of a job right there.
It was a hard job.
It is hard.
Every day. And I used to pay a neighbor to help me, and it was hard to get them to help me because they didn't want to do it so much, Well,
also I remember at times when it was collection time and all the different things that would happen around that.
It's awful,
crazy, right? But it was great. It was a good experience, though. It was
a great experience. Yes,
it taught me that I didn't know how to manage money. Every time the collections would always come up short, and then my manager would come. He's like, "Where's the rest of the money?" And I'm like, I owe money now.
Yeah, always had a few that would dodge me, just a few.
Right. Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see here if we got any. I saw a couple of good ones. I said they're not getting married anymore. They don't go to the movie theaters. The list goes on and on. I'm only halfway through the list, actually.
How do you feel about going to a movie theater? I don't have any desire.
I have not gone in. I mean, God, when's the last time I went? I don't know why.
COVID pushed us over the edge on everything. Cause I can tell you that if you asked me that a couple of years ago, I would probably respond with, well, I think it's a great experience because you're immersed in it and blah, blah, blah. But then you go through COVID and there's, no way. Then you come out of it and I'm like, I have no desire to go to a theater. I have a better viewing experience here, and I could pause it when I want. I don't have to eat $20 popcorn or whatever. And I have no desire.
There's some movies out there that the special effects are such that maybe you'll have a better experience in the movie theater.
I disagree. Well, because they have such high.
Well, you take a look at
depth.
the TVs now, right? Exactly.
Yeah, and I even listen to most everything with earbuds now, so I get perfect sound. I'm not listening to it from a many feet away, and it's so loud with the effects that you can't really hear what the voices are saying. All of that kind of thing.
Well,
so
we're done. We're not going there anymore.
Right. No.
Anyway,
many things have changed.
Wanted to say that this came from Domesticated Companion. The author was Tal Berlinger. This just came out earlier this month, and you can find it on Domesticated Companion. So
I think that was fascinating because
I'm glad you did. I wasn't sure if you would be into it or not, but I was
very
fascinated.
into it.
I'm like, oh my gosh,
I'm so much a millennial, really, even though I am.
You are.
You're one of the
cool guys. You are cool.
Chronologically, I'm a somewhat old Gen. What are we? Gen X. We're Gen X. That's it.
We're Gen X.
I'm a rather old Gen
X. Of all of the names, Gen X is actually the coolest one.
It is.
But then we don't even remember it.
Right. But my brother, 2.5 years older than me, is a baby boomer. Very technically.
Right. We were right on the edge there.
Yeah. But I definitely, like everything that you brought up, almost everything as far as millennials go, I lean into that. And
you do.
And proudly, because as we know, if you look at poverty, things like big yard markers like poverty, over time, that's gotten way better. And I know the statistic is 135,000 people every day are pulled out of poverty as a result of our modernization.
Yeah, and we talked about that on one of our shows where you went over the good news that's happening all around the world. And that was actually really cool.
Yeah, that is a very cool one. To wind up, I got more really good news right here, and I only barely found this article right before you came on, Merle. So this is for the lighter side, but would have worked well even in the upfront part. Plastic eating enzyme could eliminate billions of tons of landfill waste. And this has to do with plastic, as I recalled. Discovery published it today in Nature, a publication. Could help solve one of the world's most pressing environmental problems: what to do with billions of tons of plastic waste piling up in landfills and the ocean, mind you. The enzyme has the potential to... I knew this was going to come up sooner or later. Thank God. And I hope this is a very true article. This is a good website, doesn't publish any crap, really. The enzyme has a potential to supercharge recycling on a large scale that would allow major industries to reduce their environmental impact by recovering and reusing plastics at the molecular level. I think that's the best news I've heard all day for sure. Of course, the day just started. Yeah, that's fantastic. I don't want to read the whole article.
But look at those pictures. God, I mean, like there's something needs to happen here. And, as you're talking, you made me think about how science is always trying to figure out things like this, and sometimes it backfires. It reminded me of an article that you and I talked about several weeks ago. Was those genetically modified mosquitoes that they were going to release in Florida and California? Well, they did. They released them over the last couple of weeks. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens. These mosquitoes are supposed to go out and they're all male mosquitoes, not the kind that actually, suck your blood. It's the female that does that. And the male mosquitoes will mate with the female mosquito, and their offspring will not be able to, they won't be able to procreate. So this somehow will kill off a huge amount of these disease carrying mosquitoes.
What did they say about the, ecological system, the food chain? I mean, did they address that?
They didn't.
This is scary to me.
Yeah, exactly. None of the articles I read talked about that. And you're making such a good point, because you make this was my point, is
it's a food source.
They make a change in what's happening, and there's always a domino effect in the food chain, right? And they think they know what's going to happen, but a lot of times they don't account for XYZ variable, and it goes on. And we see that all the time. And that's what I thought of when I saw the plastic eating enzyme. Sounds great, but I wonder if there's any of these.
Who's going to eat that enzyme?
The enzyme's a monster now. It's eating everything. It just ate New York.
But you know what you said about, we talk about the food chain, reminded me of about the funniest little scene I ever saw in the show Frasier back then.
Love that show.
It was such a good show, but something happened. I'll totally screw this up. I'm terrible at trying to relay this stuff, but it's something like Frasier had a mouse. And then, and you know, those two guys, so fastidious and prissy and all that. And I think it was Niles is like, well, what we got to do is get the natural predator is a snake. And Frasier's like, well, then what, Miles? Well, we could get a mongoose to get the snake. And he goes, then what? Then we get a mountain lion? Where you go?
Exactly. Then pretty soon he got him another monster. Oh, I love that show. You know, I watched some recent episodes of that show. Not recent, but I recently watched it from the first episode. And I was thinking, this is probably going to be really corny because it was written so long ago. It wasn't. It was still freaking hilarious.
Classic.
The two, Frasier and Niles, are hilarious. And you put their dad in there too. It's great.
I remember, and I mentioned this on this show about a year ago. I read an article that they were making a reboot.
I remember you said that. I would definitely watch it. They're going to miss Martin. He passed away.
Well, right.
But still, Frasier and Niles together. I mean, come on.
They said that they were going to lean into the fact nobody seems to remember this, but Frasier actually had a kid with that. Right. Yeah, with
Lilith.
That. Yes, she was good.
Yeah, she's awesome. I see her a lot in movies and stuff.
I do too, actually. Yeah, they were going to lean into the reconnection of their relationship at this older age, which that would be the way to get around, because the father was a big part, played the straight man in the show, right?
Yes.
And that would probably be a way to replace him.
I like that. That's a good thinking on that whole thing. But I mean, Kelsey Grammer, he's just his timing, his voice inflection, but his brother too. I can't think of his name. The two of them together, they were like great brothers. Chemistry. They really were. I know you always said, they remind me of you and Scott.
Absolutely.
I could see some of that.
All right, buddy, we got to go.
All right.
And I'm sorry, because this has been a really fun podcast. Let's do the after show, but I probably will. I'll have to cut it a little short.
All right. No worries.
Okay. So go to over50startingover.com, sign up there, get all this to your email boxes, and I have to see you on the after show.
All right.